Jarvis, clearly big shoes to fill, but I'll not live up for the dream, but whatever. But I'm amazingly excited to be here because Jeff and I go way back and actually have a quick story to tell about it, but I'll explain a little bit what I do and then I'll tie it back to Jeff. So hello everybody, I'm Tal Shalozin, I'm CTO and co-founder of Innovate, the company that we started about 8 years ago with the vision that television must change and we need to create a different way to communicate through television in the internet era. But I'm here to talk about a little bit about virtual reality and how marketers play in the virtual reality space, and you can laugh with this New York Times whatever. Myself, back in Tel Aviv, thinking that it doesn't make any sense that television is exactly the same. People make content, and then a lot of other people sit down in the living room and watch it. But there's no real two-way communication. I'm just sitting back on my sofa as a couch potato and just getting preached by the channels, and the only way for me to interact with the television is zapping between channels and maybe shutting down. That's the only way that I could interact. At that time, that was right after Google acquired YouTube, and we believed that this whole world of television must follow suit with the innovation of the internet. And then a couple of years to today, this is, if old school television looks like a lot of people watching television, right now still a lot of people in the living room watching television, but television is fragmented between so many different devices, and help marketers around the world easily solve the fragmentation problem, be able to cater to everyone that want to watch television, but be able to capitalize on this opportunity to engage viewers. So to my story with Jeff, I'm super honored to be here, but honestly the only reason that I'm here is that in 2008 I got to meet Jeff and tell him about our vision to this future of television, and Jeff said, you know what is the name of this company that you're talking about? And we said, there's no real company, it's just an idea, we don't even have anything. I was in the army at that time, in the Israeli Air Force, and Jeff said, you know what, go back home, come back tomorrow at 8 a.m. for breakfast, think about the name of the company and how much money do you need, I want to build this dream with you. So 8 years later, right now, 30% of all video in the United States go through Innovate on YouTube, on Hulu, on Fox, on NBC, on Snapchat, anywhere. All through our platform, and we are 250 people around the world making, hopefully, the world a better place. So thank you, Jeff.
You guys doing okay? Yeah. So thank you really for being here. It's I've been watching this space evolve for a long time. Really, it's I remember meeting Tal back in Tel Aviv, and back in 2008, it was about digital popcorn. It really was about trying to understand the technology we had in front of us and understand how things are going to shift and move. And when you look at how people communicate, sometimes it's the embedded objects we have, sometimes it's words we don't say. And one of the challenges we all will have, of course, is there's a subtlety when you talk with people. Sometimes it's what you leave out. But it's very hard to program bots to leave things out. It's very hard when you're scripting to anticipate change. And it's just, for me, the big shift was, I guess I was into robotic scripting when I was in 3rd grade, because I had a next door neighbor, actually across the street neighbor. And I don't know if you had, when you were growing up, you had friends that you talked to, and it was always the same conversation day in, day out. So I had a tape recorder, and I remember pre-recording all my responses, calling my friend Robert Sherman up, hi Robert, if you hear me, and literally, and this time twice, where I basically had the conversation, I hit play, pause, play for 3 minutes, and I hung up the phone.
On both sides of the streets, I don't know if people know about financial services. They're an asset manager.
Since you started your career in Wall Street to today, what's changed in terms of the needs for security, in terms of how people rely on messaging services?
Yeah, well, I think so first of all, the perception and importance of security has changed dramatically over the 17 years that I've been in the industry. When I initially started working on Wall Street, it was sort of an esoteric topic. A CISO or somebody like that, would be a very minor figure in an organization. Potentially many layers of management down. Now these are folks that are regularly briefing the board of directors. There's that level of awareness at the very, very top of the organizations. This degree of awareness in our legislative branch of government, people that are aware of things like end-to-end encryption and stuff, which would never have even heard of that technology 2 years ago.
And so what is end-to-end encryption for those people here who don't know what it is?
Yeah, sure. So end-to-end encryption is a security process whereby the messages are encrypted the entire time they're sent over the cloud. So a lot of the challenges, a lot of the security issues that we've had with legacy communication platforms is because the actual cloud infrastructure itself can be hacked. We've seen this with some of the revelations of security vulnerabilities that have happened in systemic ways of compromising the security of the internet. And end-to-end encryption was designed as a tool to protect against those types of attacks.
Is that what terrorists use?
I think that, terrorists use all sorts of things. They use cars, they use buses, they use trains. These are all, pieces of infrastructure that, both good actors and bad actors will adapt to and use. And I think the question is how do we, as we deploy them, how do we think about what the social implications are?
And are there ways to, prevent, these technologies from being used against us?
Well, certainly Symphony, from where it came from, was designed, unlike most consumer-oriented end-to-end encrypted messaging platforms, to support data retention. So a lot of times, end-to-end encryption and going dark get conflated together. The idea being that if something is end-to-end encrypted, it's not possible for there to be any record of communications. In financial services, we have requirements to do that, and we've constructed our platform to support those types of needs.
That's right. So people who are using your network, they're able to get the data, they're able to decrypt or get what they need to do for compliance purposes.
Right, the institutions are, and I think, we've been very careful also to make sure that we can't misuse our customers' information. I think that's another important concern, broadly in terms of how people use the internet, but especially in a corporate or high security type of environment. You don't want your provider misusing the information on the network.
I mean, totally contrast that. I remember when I worked at Cantor in 1994, I think it is, 94, 95, the CEO, Howard Lutnick, basically wanted to know why Yahoo Messenger wasn't working on the trading desks. And one day it was. And so this is a company that, there are brokers. They, on Unemployment Friday, they would, clear their volume. The year I left in 96, they did 16 trillion in volume. They made a few hundred million. But they had lots of transactions. And so when they were doing still voice brokering, they ended up using Yahoo Messenger to bypass the turrets to actually get the people to chat with each other. And that was completely open. And despite the security people in our own company, they decided, no, we'll just bypass everything.
A quarter of the respondents say that it's not IT sanctioned. They don't know or they don't care that IT has approved it. Obviously, they're able to run whatever the system is, be it GChat or whatever that comes off the internet broadly. 80 to 95% of the main system users, Hangouts, Slack, Skype, etc., say that using messaging has improved their work, their communications. Respondents said that messaging actually decreases productivity, which was interesting. And 71% overall aren't going to invest in any new phone systems, which is pretty interesting. And they say that messaging is partly the reason for that. People are just using real-time messaging more and more. I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. We've got John Arnold and Lawrence Miller and Ross Daniels. I'm just going to introduce myself very briefly. As Jeff mentioned, my background was on Wall Street in IT and finance, an analyst, etc. I focused for the most part on the communications technology industry and various emerging technologies. I managed them as an IT manager, including collaboration and messaging. So this is a subject of great fascination. I'm going to ask each person to introduce himself briefly and then just put out a thought. I'll start with the thought that enterprise messaging is not really new. So what's happened to it that's causing most of the sources say 15 to 20% average growth rate now in the volume of messages? What's that? We've had messaging probably when you go back to the early Microsoft and public domain AOL Yahoo implementations of messaging, at least 10 years, 12 years. So why is it suddenly starting to spike? And what's driving that? So
good. You can all hear us at the back okay? Yes. All right, the lights are bright up here, so Gotta be mindful. So I'm an independent analyst, and I've been focused on the communications space for quite a long time. I go back, as Chris does, to the Vaughn days, so I got a lot of the exposure to this innovation world in the voice space through Vaughn. And towards the end of that era, 2005, I went out as an independent analyst. I used to be at Frost & Sullivan as an internal analyst on the VoIP space. And since then, I've kind of moved into looking more collaboration, and that's kind of why we're here. And the thought that I'd like to add to this is, for those of us who come from the Vaughn era and the early days of VoIP, you know, you ask about, well, why is messaging so hot today? Just like, well, why was VoIP so big then?
Which happened to be, actually just last week, I was providing some updated contact information to a colleague who works at a large bank, and he was very perplexed and somewhat shocked at the fact that I didn't have an office telephone number. And you know, I think on one hand, I think this is sort of an indication of how much of a shift there is happening. You know, my email address, my instant messaging contact, you know, my mobile phone number is probably a way of referencing a messaging contact to me. You know, and I wasn't really expecting him to call me when I provided him with my mobile phone number. I think there's another element of it that's sort of fascinating though, which is that if I was talking to somebody at another startup company, they would not have been at all surprised that I didn't have an office phone number. You know, but if you go back into an enterprise space, you go to a large bank, and that is very surprising.
Daniels. I am the head of marketing for collaboration technologies at Cisco. Collaboration technologies includes the dinosaur voice, which has been referenced a couple times. So it's a big part of our business. Maybe we'll talk about the disruption in that business as well. Also includes our conferencing portfolio, which includes things like WebEx for online meetings, video conferencing, and our newest addition to the collaboration portfolio, a product that we call Cisco Spark, which is messaging-centric communications. I'm sure I'll get a couple more plugs in for that. You know, I've been in this industry and at Cisco since 1999. So people ask me, "Oh, are you a Vaughn guy?" You know, Jeff. I'm like, it was just a little bit too late for that, I guess. I think Vaughn was still happening, but I wasn't allowed to travel. Then I was, you know, still pretty junior then. I had a lot more hair, and it was a lot less gray. But, you know, I think that the disruptive aspect of what we're talking about here is very relevant. I mean, Cisco came into the telephony space back in 1998.
And I don't know, you fall in and out of love on Instagram, you see images, you see pictures, you feel feelings. And so, you know, when I was looking at the conference and creating this event about messaging on the net and about where we're at, in this bigger sphere of how we communicate, I fell in love with the way the city of Tel Aviv shares their story. The way that, first of all, the way that Instagram happens, it's just something about these images hit me. And when I had the opportunity to have Indian Cats come from Tel Aviv to share the story of how Tel Aviv shares their story, I thought it would be a really nice addition to the conference. So please come on down.
Thanks, Jeff. Always hugging Jeff. That's the basics. Everybody, it's great to be here. Thanks, Jeff, for bringing me all the way from Tel Aviv. My name is Yadin, and I'm the digital director at Tel Aviv Global. And I'll be talking with you today about my very, very, very challenging job of telling the story of Tel Aviv to the world. Now, I come from a very different world than most of you. I assume most of you are dealing probably with products, services, more conventional customers. And I come from the world of city branding, which is very, very different in many standards. But hopefully when we're speaking in terms of how we communicate, I hope that I can throw out some ideas out to you today that, dare I say, inspire you, but you know, just so you can use and think about it the way we're doing our job. So I mentioned that my job is very, very challenging. Why is that? Well, before I came here, I put that, you know, that statement to a test, and I Googled the term the Middle East. And as most of you might know, Tel Aviv, my product, is based in the Middle East. So when I Googled the Middle East, these are some of the things that came up. just a few days ago, all right? Real Google Images searches. The first one, of course, was not working. The first one, of course, was camels. Of course, can't go Middle East without camels. The second was this very suspicious-looking hummus, or whatever it is. Third, well, terrorists, Middle East, of course, you can't go wrong with that. And my all-time favorite was Aladdin. Of course, real, authentic image of the Middle East. So it's funny. Whoa, not yet. It's funny, but that's the image of the Middle East. That's what most people think about when they hear the Middle East, Israel, Tel Aviv. And now when that's your product, when you got a touristic product that you need to sell, that's a problem. That's hard when you got militias in people's minds, when you got deserts, and of course camels. And so we're starting off at a very bad point. Before you guys start feeling sorry for me for having the worst job in the world, I want to show you why I don't, why I have the coolest. And I want to show you a different side of the Middle East. Israel and Tel Aviv with a short video that we made last year. All right, here you go. And not, no, there you go.
When I look in the mirror, boy, I'm loving what I see. If I could choose anyone in the world, I would choose me. Every color that I have is flashing in your face. I would never wanna be like anybody else. I am who I am, and who I am is modified. Normalcy is boring to me, let's get out of line. When everybody's wearing gray, I'd be wearing red. Honey, I'm alive as long as I am playing dead. Turn the music up, 'cause we coming. Every color of the rainbow we loving. It don't matter how we step in the party. Every color of the rainbow we marching. Go left, go left, go right, go right, go left, go left, go right, go right, go left, go left, go right, go right, go left, go left, go right, go right. Turn the music up, 'cause we coming. Every color of the rainbow we loving. It don't matter how we step in the party. Every color of the rainbow we marching. Go left, go left, go right, go right, go left, go left, go right, go right, go left, go left, go right, go right, go left, go left, go right, go right.
I think David's around. I know David's around. That's from a moment ago. So, just so you know, we're doing an interview with David, who is friends to comedy, and then we're going to do a Skype fireside chat with Jack Dorsey. And just to give you a heads up, questions for Jack, we're actually going to use paper. We're actually going to be on paper, and we're going to have to scribble your questions down, and then we're going to bring them up front, and we're going to curate the answer, curate the questions to ask. So that's something. So we're actually going to go very analog. The Q&A section, which I just find interesting. Also, after Jack's interview, we're going to be on lunch break. There are exhibits, by the way, there are people here showcasing, doing demos in a room.
Oh, I definitely like it. Yeah, it's all remote, that's good.
All right, so have a seat. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, yeah, I've learned a lot this morning. It's been a great conference so far, so thank you.
And how the world is coming together, and I thought maybe we spend a few minutes just talking about how you see things evolving, and you know, from where you started looking at social media. It's not social, because social media is really, you know, we've been social with our media for a very long time, and there's certainly some companies that come in, come out, others are staying. I'm just curious from the world, the way you see it, how things are evolving, and how are they evolving compared to where you thought they were evolving?
Well, let me answer that by slightly introducing myself, because I was at Fortune for 25 years, and what I did there was I wrote about technology in the biggest possible terms, and it's almost the kind of thing that is very seldom done as much these days, is, you know, taking the kind of big picture view that we did. But that was a really useful process for me, going through the whole age of the PC and Intel and Microsoft and IBM.
So I'm a programmer by trade, and I work with a lot of engineers on a day-to-day basis, and our whole company, you know, uses Slack for our internal communications. Slack has replaced the meeting for us. It has replaced some of the emails, but emails are still more of the broadcast medium for us. But there's sort of a dichotomy and a kick where you have Slack, where you go to discuss the latest code reviews, where you go to discuss you know, what's next on deck on your product roadmap. But when it switches over to your personal life, and you know, we're 130 people at the company, so we're very sociable still. When it switches over to your personal life, that switches on the kick. So as an example, we do a lot of rock climbing at Kick. There was a small contingent of us that did rock climb, about 5 of us. We said, hey, you know, maybe more people want to do this, so we put up a Kick code in the lunchroom. So that's just, if you open up Kick and you swipe down, you can scan a Kick code. You can join our group. And so from that we grew, and now we have 10, sometimes up to 20 people who come to rock climbing. And that's how we communicate. So around our interests, around all the interests in the subgroups inside of Kick, we've all aligned around different groups inside of Kick. There's a Kick where a bunch of the cat owners at Kick just send out photos of their cats every morning, and it's just a constant stream of adorable kittens. It becomes personal, that's when it jumps off. The other thing that's really sort of interesting is that about 30% of our staff at any given time are actually co-op students. So if you're in the United States, a co-op is basically an intern that we pay money. So we're very close to the University of Waterloo, so about 30% of our engineering staff is co-ops, they're actually students.
I feel like myself and my generation is more about, we're not talking about personal things over email. Email is definitely for work, it's again more formal, and then, you know, I find that that's very separate from the way I communicate with my peers. Like, I wouldn't go on Instagram to like communicate or connect with really people from my workplace. It's definitely, I feel like there's a segregation between the way we communicate at work and the other channels that we use in personal life, like Snapchat and other forms.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and just I'm gonna bring another perspective as well, and I'm just gonna talk about why I agree with everything that you guys said. Like, when I think of email is for work.
Lord of the Vine, that's good. All right, so now we have to manage the feedback, but we'll do this. All right, thank you so much. So, so how are you doing? Things good?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. We've been talking about the state of messaging on the net and where things are going. And I don't know if you remember, but a long time ago I had Pulver TV, and I actually did an interview with you in 2006, back when things were just getting started. And I've been quite a fan of watching how things evolve and looking at ideas from the beginning and what they turn into. And I was wondering if you could spend a little bit of time talking about the aha when Twitter became Twitter, and that transition of what you learned through the process of what you had and how it started to evolve into the business that it's become today.
Yeah, I can't see you. I can only see 4 chairs, so it's a little. There you are. Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay. And I just wanna say a big thank you to Jeff. Jeff was one of our first angel investors in Twitter, and one of the first people that concepts, and he was one of the first to see it. So I want to thank you, and also hello to you all. I think, as Jeff said, we started in 2006. We were born out of another company called Audio, which was focused on podcasting. And the funny thing about it was Audio were really podcasters. We didn't have a lot of passion for the creation of the tool we were making. We had a lot of passion for people listening and for those producers of podcasts, but it wasn't innate. It wasn't everything that we did. That was for the product, but it was great in that we had a really good and amazing set of people that were pretty aligned around the power of technology to give people voice, and that was really the idea behind Odeo. But one of the things that we did is we had such a curious and creative bunch of people that we always brainstorm new ideas, new ways of thinking, and Twitter was really born out of that. It wasn't something that was solving anyone's problem other than our own. We had an idea, we wanted to see it, we wanted to use it, and we made it in about 2 weeks utilizing SMS and a CMS stack called Ruby on Rails. That was fairly new back then. And we were only 7 people. Yeah, and I remember the first time we went away from the office after dinner or the gym or yoga or whatever people were doing that night. And even though we were physically away from each other because of Twitter, and the reason why is we just constantly share what we were doing, of what your teammates were doing. So we kept building it, and we decided that we wanted to continue to pull on the thread and satisfy our curiosity around what the thing was, and little by little we took more of the engineers and product folks and designers, split them to work in on Twitter, and then we started inviting our friends. And this happened to be a lot of very vocal bloggers, technologists. They started using it everywhere. The moment that really unlocked it for me, it made it feel like something bigger than it was. It's on a Saturday, and I was working on and we had an earthquake in San Francisco, and I actually got, my phone actually buzzed with a tweet, earthquake vibration of the earth, which was really interesting. It was to them than the earth, and what was amazing was little by little, my phone kept buzzing and buzzing and buzzing, and every single one was earthquake, earthquake. I think it's I think it's a 3.9 at Berkeley, mission. And then someone got on and reported that the USGS said it was a 3.9 out of Richmond. And to see, number one, this kind of speculation turning to fact within seconds, and then number two, we were all in this shared experience, which could have been really positive or could have been really negative, but felt like we were all in it together, and we weren't alone because of the technology, because it was mobile and it was always present. So that was one of the biggest moments for me in the early days, and then since that time, constantly improving stuff in entirely new ways.